great to see you. We were going to do this on the phone, but your power came back on. How are you doing, and how are your neighbors doing down there in the Dallas area?
I appreciate that. Yeah, my power did come back on yesterday and been off for about 3 days. We are seeing just horrific sightings of pipes that have burst, people's rooftops that are now, in their living room. It's been bad. As you know, we're not equipped like we are up in New York for this in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
The weather here has been horrific. It's been cold. And as you know, we have had a lot of blackouts and a lot of people, a quarter of our population that's been without heat or electricity.
Well, I see you're in your car. I know you're out there. You're going to go hand out some food to folks. We'll talk about the power situation in a second, but let's also talk about this immigration bill. Obviously huge for Texas here. There is this bipartisan plan to reinstitute the DREAM Act that might have some legs, but you hear about Democrats pushing ahead with this in reconciliation, not looking to get any real support from Republicans. And you look back at the last time there was real serious conversation about doing something on immigration, legalizing 8 million illegal immigrants through this path to citizenship. That goes well beyond anything that was proposed and agreed upon when you had the Gang of Eight immigration bill a long time ago. So this shows Democrats really want to push this issue very far. Do you think it's going to get anywhere?
I think Democrats are looking at in 2 years, they're not going to have the House anymore. The Republicans are going to be able to take back the House in 2 years. So I think they're trying to go as extreme as they possibly can to get as much as they possibly can in the next few months, regardless of whether or not it makes sense, regardless of whether or not they've got any support on the right side of the aisle. This whole pull for unity, and we're going to be talking and we're going to be reaching out across the aisle. We haven't seen it at all. I mean, as you mentioned, they're going to try to push this through with a simple majority, not even bringing any Republicans to discuss it. And I think that's a problem. Chip Roy led a number of us to sign a letter talking about the issues in immigration, specifically along the border. Texas has a lot of issues. We have our communities that have been flooded in some cases, gang activity, sex trafficking, drug cartel activity, and those are things that I think we need to take seriously before we talk about not enforcing immigration laws, talk about opening our borders. And we are coming out of this pandemic, hopefully. Now that we've got the vaccine out, we're hoping to be able to open the economy back up. But, we are trying to help struggling working families right now. And then with this storm on top of it, we've got some real issues. We've got a lot of work to do in front of us. And I think trying to pander to the far left is not the way to get it done.
Yeah, I mean, how does changing the term from alien to non-citizen, how does that help to sell, jobs in this country? How does it help keep the border safe? I mean, that's the kind of stuff they obviously want to push that out because this is more about symbolism. And you're right, maybe they know they're not going to, have control of the House in 2 years. They pushed Obamacare through basically with no Republican support, and they paid the price for that. They maybe are resigned to their fate. So let's talk a little bit more about the power situation. A lot of blame going on right now, but I complain about this a lot, that we often focus on who before we focus on why. And what do you see as the real issue and why this happened?
Well, we've been spending a lot of our resources on types of power that aren't there. They don't have the baseload capacity when you most need it. We've shown that coal, oil, those are ways of being able to have energy when you need it in these kind of moments. Wind and solar just are not reliable sources. Yeah, I am all trying to find as many different opportunities, to increase our energy supplies, but we can't do it at the same time as removing resources where we need them the most. And there's going to be a lot of blame to go around. ERCOT, we have sent a letter asking them a lot of tough questions. Communication has been key. We've had a lot of conversations with elected officials and with families, quite honestly, asking them what their issues have been during this time. And communication has been one of them. When we're having rolling blackouts, are you letting people know beforehand? When is the electricity going to come back on? Those have been tough questions to ask. People don't like, obviously, being out. We were out of electricity for 3 days. Some people have done more. I'll tell you, I'll never take for granted a hot shower again. But these are questions that we're going to have to ask. We're asking the governor, we're asking ERCOT really to give us some answers. But we have an independent grid in Texas. I think we have been very proud of that. But we need to make sure that we're prepared, and making sure that we have reliable sources of base load energy when you need it the most has got to be where we start.
Yeah, the term you used to hear thrown around by Republicans a lot, not only drill baby drill, but also, all of the above, meaning everything, wind, solar, gas, coal, electric, but we're learning these lessons. And specifically when it comes down to federal subsidies for these, we heard John Fund earlier talking about how this drives up the price of this stuff sometimes. Is it time to take a serious look at this and, rip this stuff out by the roots?
Well, absolutely, and I think Rick Perry had an excellent article the other day where he was talking about using technology, using the government to evaluate the risks, and those are the things that the government should be focused on. But as far as favoring one over the other, let the market decide on that.
Right.
And right now, when people are barely able to pay a lot of their bills, now is not the time to start jacking up simple things like heat.
Right, and they want to talk about, getting rid of the Keystone XL pipeline. Nobody talks about nuclear energy, another important component of that as well. Congressman, great to see you. We appreciate it. I know you're going to go out there and help the folks of Texas, which is what you'd expect your representative to be doing at this time. We appreciate your time. Congresswoman Beth Van Duyne.
Take care.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
All right, a live